Hi guys! In this part of the course we'll be modeling the hair and the hat. I'll show you a really easy way to do hair strands from curves that you can adjust as you go along. Okay, let's get started. Press Shift A and add a path curve from here. After that, press Shift A again and add a circle curve. Shift select both of the curves and move them out of the way with G. You can also scale them down with S. After this, select the circle curve and rotate it by pressing R and typing in 90. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make this path curve follow the shape of the circle. Select the path curve and go into Object Data Properties. Then, in Geometry, go into Bevel and then click on Object. After that, with the eyedropper tool, select the circle curve. You can see now that the path curve has been extruded in the shape of the circle curve. The shape of the path curve is now controlled by the circle. If you select the circle curve, press Tab and go into Edit mode, you can now move these points here. As you can see, once you move them, that changes the shape of the path curve. You can also still select the path curve and move its points independently. That makes this setup ideal for making hair strands. Now let's grab this bottom point on the circle here and move it up with G. After that, grab these side points and rotate the handles like this with R. Then move down the points with G. You can see that makes the strand flat on the bottom. Now let's adjust the shape of the path curve. Press Tab and go back into Object mode. Then select the path curve and press Tab to go into Edit mode. Here you can select the individual points and press Alt-S to scale them up or down. So yeah, Alt-S is how you adjust the thickness on the points on the hair strands. For this hair strand, let's just make the ends really small. Select the end point and press Alt-S to scale it down. Do the same on the other side. Nice, now the strand is nice and tapered on both ends. Here, while in edit mode, you can press Ctrl T to twist points. This is great for wavy or curly hair. To shape the strand, you can press G to move the points around. If you find that you don't have enough points to work with in some areas, you can subdivide to add more points. To subdivide, select 2 points between which you want to put a new point. Then right-click and choose Subdivide. This adds a new point in the middle here. That gives you more control over the shape of the curve. And that is pretty much everything you need to know about this setup. It's really straightforward and great to use for hair as it's so adjustable. Here I'm just pressing Ctrl Z to undo all of the twisting I did until the hair lays flat. Nice, now let's start placing some strands on the character. You can grab this original strand or you can duplicate it by pressing Shift D. Then you want to move it in place with G. After this, press Tab and go into Edit mode. Then select all the points on the curve and press R to rotate it. From this menu here, you want to be sure that your transform pivot point is set to bounding box center and not individual origins, so you can freely rotate your curve. So yeah, just make sure it's set to bounding box center. Rotate the strand in place with R. Then start moving individual points with G. We're just trying to match the shape of the front strand on the reference. While you're doing this, make sure you're rotating around your model so you know that it looks okay from all angles. I'm just rotating the whole strand with R and then moving the individual points with G. not being too precious with matching everything 100% at this stage, I'm just trying to get a nice curve. Here I'm moving the whole strand back with G. Once it starts clipping the head, I fix it by bringing some points a bit further out. There's a lot of back and forth at this stage, so be patient with yourself. Keep tweaking the shape and you'll get there. Here I'm selecting the middle points on the strand and pressing Alt-S to scale them up a bit. That makes the hair strand a bit chunkier. Then I continue to adjust the shape. After this, we want to add another strand to the front here to fill out this front section. Press Tab and go into Object Mode. Select the strand we just shaped and press Shift D to duplicate it. Then press Tab and go into Edit Mode. Start shaping the strand by adjusting the individual points. Scale this second strand down a bit by pressing Alt and S. Then press Tab and go into Object Mode. Shift select both strands. Then press Tab and go back into Edit Mode again. By doing this, you can adjust both strands at the same time, which is really handy. After I got my strands in place, I decided that they're a bit too thick. To change the thickness, press Tab and go into Object Mode. Select the circle curve controlling the shape of the strands. Press Tab and go into Edit Mode. Select this top point and move it down with G and Z. This makes the strands less bulky and more manageable. After this, continue adjusting the shape of the strands. You can press Ctrl T to tilt them and move the individual points with G. To be honest, there's no big secret on how to get these looking nice. Mainly you're aiming for a nice even curve shape on the points and you want it to look good from every angle. So lots of little tweaks is how you get there. After you're happy with this front section, press Tab and go into Object Mode. Select the second strand and press Shift D to duplicate it. This will be the strand in front of the ear. Select the new strand and press Tab to go into Edit Mode. Start shaping it by moving the individual points with G. Here you want to twist the bottom points by selecting them and then pressing Ctrl T. Keep adjusting it until the shape looks good from all angles. Once you're happy with the strand, press Tab and go into Object Mode. Now we'll make the hair strand going over the ear. In Object Mode, select the last hair strand and press Shift D to duplicate it. Then press Tab and go into Edit Mode. Start moving the points with G. You want this strand to be above the ear. Continue tweaking and adjusting the shape with G. Match the side and front reference as close as you can. Select this point and scale it up by pressing Alt and S. That makes the strand a bit thicker like in the reference. Here I decided I don't like how short the front strands are. Although I've drawn them short in the reference and it looks good there, I don't think that works in 3D. So what I'm going to do is I'll just make them longer. To do that, while in Object Mode, Shift select both strands. Press Tab and go into Edit Mode. Select the bottom points and move them down with G. Nice, now this side looks all good. Press Tab and go into Object Mode. Now we want to copy and flip these strands over to the other side. Let's just join them into one object first so it's easier to flip them. In Object Mode, Shift select all of the strands. Then press Ctrl J to join them into one object. Now when you press Tab and go into Edit mode, you can edit all the strands at the same time. You can also still edit the individual strands on their own. To do that, select one point on the strand that you want to edit. Then press L. This selects all of the linked points. Now you can press G or R to edit just this one strand. Okay, if you're all done, we can now flip the object over. Press Tab and go into Object Mode. Before we duplicate and flip it, we want to apply all transforms. To do that, select the object, press Ctrl A, and choose All Transforms. This zeroes out all the transformations, sets the scale back to 1, and moves the pivot point to the center of the scene. Now we can flip these strands to the other side. Select the strands object and press Shift D to duplicate it. Then press S, X, and then type in -1. This flips the object to the other side. After this, you can press Tab and go into Edit mode. You want to adjust the shape of the strands on this side so it's not completely identical to the other side. Adding a bit of asymmetry to your character makes them feel a bit more natural. Next, we'll do some trickery for the hair under the hat. You could model all the strands under the hat if you wanted to, but that would take a lot of time. So if you do each and every strand and build out the hairline, that would be a very long process. So what we'll do instead is we'll make a hair cap, which will have the same color as the rest of the hair. This hair cap will be hidden under the hat, so it won't be noticeable and it will save us a lot of time. This type of hair cap is often used in video game characters and under short hair. Okay, let's get started. In Object Mode, select the body. Press Shift D to duplicate it. We'll grab the hairline geometry from this duplicated model. Press / on your keyboard to view only the duplicated object. Then press Tab and go into Edit mode. Press Free for face selection. Then press X and choose faces to delete the selected faces. Now all we have left is the hair cap. You can adjust the shape of the corners by pressing 1 for vertice selection and moving the vertices with G. When you're done, press / again to unhide the rest of the objects. As you can see, the hair cap is clipping a bit. While in edit mode still, press A to select all the vertices. After that, press Alt S to scale them along the normals. You can fix any remaining clipping by hand. And with that, our hair cap is done. Next, let's apply some materials to the hair so you can see what it will look like. Press Tab and go into Object mode. Select the hair cap. Go into Material Properties here. Click on the minus here to remove the currently applied material. Then, press on the plus sign to add a new material slot. After that, press on New to create a new material. This will be the hair material. Name it by double-clicking on the material name. After this, click on the box next to base color and change the color to black. Then click on this button up here to enable material preview. Now you can see the actual color of the materials in the viewport. Next, let's just quickly apply the same material to all the hair strands. Select one side and then from material properties, click on this icon here. Choose the hair material we created. Do the same for the other hair strands and the eyebrows. Now this one material controls the color of all the hair on our model. Nice, now let's move on to the hat. Here I'm just going back into solid view from this button. Now let's add a round cube to start the hat. Press Shift A and add a round cube. From this Add Round Cube menu, set the radius to 1. Right-click the cube and choose Shade Smooth. After that, from Modifier Properties, add a Subdivision Surface modifier. This moves the object in the viewport. After this, press G and Z to move the object up. Scale down the object with S. Now let's delete the bottom half of the object. Turn on X-Ray from here. Press Tab and go into Edit mode. Press Free for face selection. Drag select the bottom faces. Press X and choose faces to delete them. Now we have a half sphere. This is going to be the base of the hat. Move it down with G and Z and scale it to match the reference with S and Z. After that, scale it up in the Y-axis a bit by pressing S and Y and rotate it so it matches the angle of the hat in the reference. You want to make sure that there's no clipping here with the hair cap and the skull. The clipping on the strands we can fix by moving the strands out of the way. After this, press Tab and go into Object mode. We'll now add a Solidify modifier to the cap to add some thickness. Go into Modifier Properties and from Add Modifier, add the Solidify modifier. In thickness, put in a value of -0.05. That adds some thickness to the outside of the hat. Now we just want to adjust the shape of the hat a bit more. Select it and press Tab to go into Edit mode. You can't see the individual vertices because of the Solidify modifier. To get around that, you can turn on X-Ray from up here. Now you can see the vertices behind. Press 1 for vertice selection. Move these back vertices inward a bit so there's no gap between the head and the hat. Nice, that's looking better. Next, let's adjust this hairline. Press Tab and go back into Object mode. Select the hair cap object and press Tab to go into Edit mode. Move these front hairline vertices up with G so they line up with the hat edge. Now let's shape the hat a bit further. Press Tab and go back into Object mode. Now we can apply the Solidify modifier. Go into Modifier Properties here and from the tick mark next to Solidify, choose Apply. Because we have a Subdivision Surface modifier still on, this part on the bottom of the hat got flattened. To fix that, press Tab and go into Edit mode. Press Ctrl R and add a loop close to the front here and one close to the back. That hardens the area back up. Now let's make the hat brim. Press Ctrl R and add a loop to the middle here. After that, press Free for face selection. Shift select these faces. Press numpad free for side view. Then press E to extrude the selected faces. Move them down with G and Z. This extruded area will be the hat brim. Press numpad free again for side view and then move the faces down slightly with G. After that, press Ctrl R again and add a loop around the end and at the base of the brim. That hardens those areas a little bit. Now turn on X-Ray and press 1 for vertice selection. Select the brim end vertices here. scale those in with S and X. Now we can make the front opening of the hat. Select the hat and press Tab to go into edit mode. We'll have to remove some faces in the front here to make a hole. Press free for face selection and shift select these two faces. Press X and choose faces to delete them. Now we have to delete these back faces too. The back faces are there because we applied the solidify modifier earlier. To delete the back faces, shift select them, press X and choose faces. Now we want to bridge these gaps so there's no holes. To easily see what you're selecting and bridging, you can temporarily turn off the subdivision surface modifier from this button here. Now you want to press 2 for edge selection. Shift select these two edges. Press F to make a face between them. Now do the same for the rest of the edges. Shift select them and press F to make a face between each set of edges. Nice, now there's no more holes. Next, let's shape this opening a bit better. Turn on the reference. Grab these two corner edges here and scale them in with S and X. After that, select all these bottom edges and scale those in as well with S and X. We're just trying to match the shape of the hole in the reference. Make sure you're working from multiple angles so there's no weird bumps in your model. Now you can enable the subdivision surface modifier again from here. Okay, so that's looking good, apart from we just want to harden this area at the front. To do that, press Ctrl R. Scroll on your mouse and add a few edge loops to this inside area. After that, press Ctrl R and add some loops to the two corners like this. Last thing we want to do on the hat is to soften it as a whole and then harden some specific edges. While in object mode, select the hat, right click it and choose Shade Smooth. That smooths the normals on the whole object. After that, you want to come here in Object Data Properties and under Normals, you want to enable Auto Smooth. Set the angle here to 60. Now let's manually harden some specific areas. Press Tab and go into Edit mode. Shift select all of the edges running along the outer and inner rim of the hat. So you want these edges selected. After that, shift select the edges around the opening on the front as well. Then right click and choose Mark Sharp. That makes all the selected edges sharp. As you can see, when we go into object mode, all the edges we selected are nice and sharp. Nice, good job so far. Next, I'm just going in and fixing where the hair clips the hat. I do that by adjusting the individual hair strands in edit mode. I try to make sure that there's no gaps and no clipping. I also go in and adjust the vertices at the front of the hairline further. Here you can turn on Material Preview to help you see things more clearly. The contrast between the black hair and the white on the other models will show you where there's clipping and problem areas. So yeah, you just want to continue adjusting until you see no more issues or gaps. Finally, let's model the pigtails. We'll do them the exact same way we did the strands, but instead of using the same circle we created before, we'll add a new source circle for the pigtails. To add a new curve, press Shift A. From Curve, add a new circle curve. Rotate it with R and position it next to the other one with G. Now we're just going to replace the old circle curve with this new one. Here I'm using a duplicate of the original path curve we started with. If you don't have a path curve from before, you can add a new one to your scene by pressing Shift A, going into Curve, and then choosing Path. After this, we want to go into Object Data Properties, then go into Geometry, Bevel, click on Object, and from the eyedropper tool, select the new circle curve. Now the path follows the shape of the new circle curve. Here my ends are scaled down because I'm using a duplicate of the original path curve we made. If you remember, we scaled down the ends with Alt-S. In case you've added a new curve to your scene, the ends will be wide and open like this. To make them tapered, select the path curve and go into Edit mode. Here you can select the end points and press Alt-S to scale them down. Okay, now let's use this as a strand for the pigtails. While in edit mode still, select all the points and press S to scale down the whole curve. Press G and position it on the head. After this, select these points here and press Alt-S to make the curve thinner in that area. Now you want to start matching the position of the strand to the reference. Remember to rotate around your model while you're working, so your model looks good from every angle. Here you want to continue adjusting the position and rotation of the strand until it matches the front and side angles a bit better. It doesn't have to be 100% precise in this case, but try to match it as close as you can. After you're happy with the position of the strand, you can duplicate it. To do that, press Tab and go into Object mode. Select the strand and press Shift D to duplicate it. After that, press Tab and go into Edit mode. Select all the points, press R to rotate them and S to scale them. Match the position and size of the strand to the reference. Move the individual points as well to get a nice shape. After you're happy with the second strand, press Tab and go back into Object mode. Select this object and press Shift D to duplicate it. This is going to be the third strand. Place it under here and try to match the reference as close as you can. Once you're happy with that one, just duplicate it one more time. Rotate it with R and scale it down with S and Alt-S. Nice! After we're done with the general shape of these strands, we can position them better in 3D space. At the moment I have them laid out a bit too flat. That might work in 2D, but it doesn't look very good in 3D. To fix that, you can grab the individual strands and press Tab to go into Edit mode. Then you want to rotate each strand by pressing R. Rotate them around so they fill out the pigtail shape a bit more. You just want them to be a bit fluffier and less flat. While you're working on these, make sure that you're rotating from multiple angles. You want to make sure that the strands will look good no matter where the camera is positioned. Here I decided to add one extra strand that's not in the reference to just fill out the shape a bit more. I do that by going into Object mode, grabbing one of the strands and pressing Shift D to duplicate it. Then I press Tab and go into edit mode. I grab all the points and press R to rotate them. Keep adjusting until you're happy with the shape. Nice, that's looking better. It works from all angles. Next, we just want to apply the hair material to all of these strands as well. Select each strand and from material properties from this icon, choose and apply the hair material. Here I'm just doing some more minor tweaks. I just rotate the strands a bit more. Once you're 100% happy with these, you can merge them into one object and then flip them to the other side. To do that, press Tab and go into object mode. After that, shift select all the pigtail curves. Then press Ctrl J to join them into one object. Now you want to apply all transforms to this object before duplicating it and flipping it to the other side. To apply all transforms, press Ctrl A and choose all transforms. Now we can duplicate this pigtail object. Select the object and press Shift D to duplicate it. After that, you can type in S, X and then -1 to flip it, or you can just type in -1 in the X field here. Beautiful, now you have the second pigtail. You can rotate it and adjust the individual points a bit, so it's not exactly identical to the other side. It's always good to add some asymmetry. And with that, we have finished the hat and the hair of the character. Amazing work so far. In the next part of the course, we'll be finishing off the modeling stage by making all of the clothes and the accessories. Okay, bye for now. I'll see you in the next one.